Hi, this is Dr. Gregory Sadler. I'm a professor of philosophy and the president and founder of an educational consulting company called Reason.io, where we put philosophy into practice. I've studied and taught philosophy for over 20 years, and I find that many people run into difficulties reading classic philosophical texts. Sometimes it's the way things are said or how the text is structured. But the concepts themselves are not always that complicated, and that's where I come in. To help students and lifelong learners, I've been producing longer lecture videos and posting them to YouTube. Many viewers say they find them useful. What you're currently watching is part of a new series of shorter videos, each of them focused on one core concept from an important philosophical text. I hope you find it useful as well. Duties of reparation often arise when you break a duty of fidelity. So let's talk about that. This is something really unique to Ross's ethics, that he makes reparation, fixing things, so central to his moral theory. I think this is something really quite interesting. There's a recognition that there are going to be a lot of cases where we do something wrong, where we fail in one of our duties towards another person, including the duty not to harm them, right? Where we make things worse for them, where we let them down. And he says that in these sorts of cases, we incur an obligation upon ourselves. Oftentimes we'll say things like, well, it couldn't be helped, I'm not really responsible. Ross would say, if you harm somebody, even if you couldn't help it, you were sick at the time and didn't realize that you were going to bump into them, you're still in some sense responsible. You still ought to try to make up for it. He says, duties resting on a previous wrongful act are duties of reparation. And he talks about these in a bunch of different places. Notice what else he says. He says this with reparation, and he also says this with gratitude. He's not so interested in the feeling. It's action, not feeling, that matters. And when we fail, when we do wrong, when we let people down, we should feel bad. And we often do feel bad. But that's not what the duty of reparation really is. The duty of reparation is to actually do something to try to acknowledge and, if possible, set things right. Now this is really interesting, in part because I think a lot of people don't realize that ethics is not just about learning the code that's going to, set everything on the right track. It's about figuring out how to quit screwing up your life and the lives of other people around you. Because odds are by the time that you actually start to study ethics and think about these sort of things, you've got some ways in which you screw up, routinely. And you want to be able to think about, what should I do? I don't want to just stop doing those things. I actually have a duty to in some way make up for it. So let's just start with apologies. What does a good apology consist in for you? What do you want to see on the part of the person? Yeah.
Sincere, that they actually mean it.
Yeah. That's important. They recognize that there's something wrong. So it's not one of those BS apologies like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I mean, that's a terrible thing to say to somebody, right? I say, you wronged me. I'm sorry you feel that way. That's not acknowledging anything. That's like adding a new insult to it, isn't it? Yeah.
Recognizing fault.
Being willing to say, I did something that I shouldn't have. Yeah. That's part of it, an important part, yeah.
Being reassured that they're not going to do it again.
Yeah, making some sort of resolve. And not just like, some BS words of, I'll never do it again, I'm so sorry, just give me another chance. I mean, sometimes people mean that, but sometimes that's like the way people keep justifying doing the wrong thing over and over again. If somebody keeps on doing the wrong thing, you might, like for example, somebody who bursts out in a terrible rage against you, in order to keep from doing it again, maybe they need to go to anger management, Maybe they need to be in a group counseling situation. That would actually show, that would be an action. Yeah, what are you going to say?
When they actually approach you to apologize, you don't draw an apology out of them.
Oh, so you don't have to like hint around anything you're sorry for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. There's a certain spontaneity to it. Okay, that makes sense. So Ross would say that if you had to remind them or bring it to their attention, but they did actually apologize, they are fulfilling their duty, but just not as well. Anything else that goes into a good apology for you? Now, what about making things right? Apologizing is one thing. Does apologizing always fix things? It's kind of good to do, but does it actually fix everything? What else do people need to do? Let's think about some ordinary situations. I screw up your car, what should I do? Fix your car, right. That's fairly easy to do. I reveal some secret that you told me, and you told it in confidence and it's damaging for others to know it, and I reveal it. How do I make up for that? That's a little tougher, isn't it? Maybe I do what I can to restore your reputation. Yeah.
Maybe you can say something that embarrasses yourself.
Yeah, I suppose. Although that just makes everybody more miserable, right? Yeah, that could work. At least takes attention away from the person that you're wrong. What if I cheat in my marriage? How do I make up for that? I mean, how do people try to make up for that? Candy, renewal of the vows, flowers. Not really doing it though, is it? If you can be made, if everything can be made okay by a bouquet of flowers for breaking, one's marriage vows, they weren't really taking those vows that serious in the first place, I think. What might actually make up for it? Saying to the other person, well, you get to cheat too? I don't know. That's probably not the solution. Notice a lot of times with duties of reparation, it's hard to figure out exactly what would satisfy the requirement to make things up. And we can fail in respect to any of these. We can even fail in not apologizing when we ought to, not recognizing when we do things wrong. There's a reflexive aspect to this. Some people just don't like to apologize or ever admit that they're wrong. That's wronging a person if, in a second way if you've already wronged them. What do you guys think of this? This is something we haven't talked about up until this point in the semester. Do you feel like you do actually have duties to make things right when you do things wrong? I think that's pretty basic, isn't it? What do you think about people who don't think they have any duties to make things right when they've done things wrong? Do you know any people like that? Yeah.
They just like don't have a conscience.
Yeah, that might be the problem. Or they're so self-centered that they can't see any reason why they should worry about that.